So hello everyone, and welcome to an introduction to the chart command of the query language. So let's dive right into it. So as always, we just open the manual and go and find some example just to have it a little bit easier. So let's just take a little bit a bigger one, just that I don't have to go back and forth all the time. So basically, with the chart command, as the name says, you can start and create charts. So the data that we are using here is just some random records of type series. When we look at these records, so we have a timestamp, we have a warehouse, which is just some random name, and we have an item, which is a fruit. The fruit has a class like the quality of the fruit and some different values like count, price, box size, and so on. So now let's see, let's just take a few of those commands. So let's say we want to have a chart that shows us data by the warehouse and the item. And we also want to have the chart to be of type area. And our X data is from the field time and our Y data is the count. So if we execute this, so we get here a nice chart, and you see the data is converted directly into series based on warehouse and item. We can also say we just want to have the item, and then we have it by item, or we can just say, okay, good, let's say we want to have it by box size. And like this you can have create your series very fast based on the data that you have in your table. So let's go back to warehouse and item. So we have here some data, and now we can add some other things. Let's say, for example, like this. So we can say the chart should have a specific height. We can say we would like to have all these things stacked. Maybe let's take, let's do that first. So now you see we have, the chart is a little bit higher. We get the values stacked on top of each other thanks to the stacked. We can display the axis and display the legend as we want. So we can say here false, and we get a chart without axis. We can also do a little bit more things like span gaps. We can set this to false. Doesn't make a big difference here, as we have values for everything. Let me see. Let's say we have set count. Just to make an example here, what span gap would do. So let's say if random turns a random integer, let's say if this is bigger than 80, then make null, and else make count. So now you see we have some gaps here in the data. So if we now want to connect these lines here, we can use span gaps. So these gaps will be connected. We can change the types of the axis. For example, let's say this is true, and we say, let me check, the X type could be time linear or logarithmic. Linear. So you see the time will not be converted, it will just take the milliseconds. But if we choose this as a time, what is default, then we get a nice axis here. You can also change this to logarithmic. And this would show you the data in a logarithmic way, depending on the data that you display. This could help. Now, let's get this back to linear. Now we have a Y minimum and maximum. So these are suggestions how the chart should be displayed. So we can say, okay, good, give me this as a minimum or a maximum. Could be useful, for example, if you show percentage values, especially for the maximum. This is just a suggestion. So when you go above that value, then the chart will expand. That's just how the chart.js framework is working. Point radius, you can give here a point radius, and then the points will be displayed accordingly. Matter of choice. You have another thing here, the type, for example, bar chart. You can see all the different types here. You can have line charts, bars, scatter, and all these kinds of things. Another thing what is very useful is you can convert this chart and the series and automatically get it into multiple charts. Let me just copy paste that from here so that I don't have to write so much. So we have these options here: multi-chart, true, title, true, and multi-chart columns. So as you see, we have 6 different series, and these series are now put into different charts. This is very, very useful if you have, for example, there is a series count. So this is not just example data, but let's say we have a chart with 25 series and we have no multiple charts, then this chart is basically unreadable. So with multi-charts, you can just go and split all these charts into multiple charts. Let's say line, or let's say even spark line. So we have a very fast way to get our data displayed as charts. One thing here is that you can choose the number of columns. So currently we have 3 per line. You can also say give me 5. And like this you can steer a little bit what and how much you want to see. You can change the height. Be aware that this cannot be used with a percentage value. I think this will have a fallback if you do that of about 200 pixels, if I'm not wrong. But yeah, doesn't work with multi-chart, doesn't work with percentage values, so choose a pixel value here. You can also display the legend again in the multi-charts. So you get here down the legend. Questionable how useful it is. You can maybe use it instead of a title. False. So you have it down here. Let's get back to free. So now we have charts with a nice label. Good. And another thing that you can do is you can display details. So how this works is basically you have the whole data and you have these detail options here. So we can choose a renderer and then basically the data is displayed down here. That is part of the chart above. Now, let me change this around a little. So let's say we only have one per column. I want the details position to be on the left. And let's say 30%. So you see now the chart is here on the right. And the data that is inside of the chart is displayed here. You can also choose another renderer, for example, the panels. Then you get them as panels and you can open and close them. Another thing that you can do, you can use combination of format record with the charts. Let's say, let's take some example here. And we have the count. Let's put the count here. Now theoretically, if we turn this one off, our data is nice and colorful. Great. So now if I choose here details renderer of type status map, then I get basically a status map of the data that I'm seeing here in the chart. And just to make that a little nicer, let's take that one out again. So and you see how your data is basically changing over time. You can actually here make a status bar and put it on the bottom. Make details say type %. And then you basically get kind of a mapping of the values here with a color down here, and you see a little bit how it's changing over time. Can be useful if you want to set some thresholds and stuff like that. But that's basically kind of the things that you can do with the chart command. And I would say that's it. Thank you very much for listening and have fun plotting your data as charts.